There was a man named Daniel who lived in a quiet town nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests. Every morning, he awoke to the same view, the same ceiling, the same worn curtains filtering the same pale light. His life was predictable, comfortable, and safe. He had a modest job that required little effort, a routine that never changed, and friendships that asked nothing of him. To anyone looking in, Daniel seemed content. But beneath the surface of his comfortable existence, something stirred a quiet restlessness he couldn't name, a weight that grew heavier with each passing year. Daniel often stood at his window, watching the sun rise over the mountains in the distance. Those peaks looked so far away, so difficult to reach. He wondered what it would be like to climb them, to see the world from that height. But the thought alone exhausted him. Why struggle when everything here was easy? Why risk discomfort when comfort was already his? So he stayed, day after day, year after year, choosing the familiar over the unknown, the easy over the challenging, the comfortable over the meaningful. As time passed, Daniel began to notice something strange. The comfort he had cherished was beginning to feel less like a blessing and more like a cage. His job, once easy and stress-free, now felt hollow and purposeless. His routines, once soothing, now felt monotonous and suffocating. Even his friendships, built on pleasant conversations and shallow laughter, left him feeling isolated and unseen. He looked around at his life and realized he had accumulated nothing of real value. He had avoided challenges, so he possessed no skills worth mentioning. He had dodged difficult conversations, so his relationships lacked depth. He had chosen the path of least resistance so consistently that he had become weak, not just in body, but in spirit. The restlessness inside him grew into something sharper, regret. He saw younger people in town taking risks, starting businesses, traveling to distant places, building lives filled with purpose and passion. And he wondered, when had he stopped dreaming? When had he traded his potential for the illusion of peace? One evening, as Daniel sat alone in his dimly lit living room, a thought struck him with uncomfortable clarity. Easy choices create hard lives. He had spent decades choosing comfort, and now his life felt harder than ever, not because of what he had endured, but because of what he had avoided. Unable to shake his growing despair, Daniel decided to take a walk, something he rarely did. He wandered beyond the edges of town, following a narrow path that led into the hills. The air was cool and clean, and for the first time in years, he felt his mind begin to quiet. As he walked, he came upon a small garden tucked between two hillsides. An elderly woman knelt among the flowers, her hands deep in the soil. She looked up as Daniel approached, her eyes bright with a wisdom that seemed to see straight through him. In a way, Daniel admitted, he didn't know why, but something about her presence made him want to speak honestly. I feel like I've wasted my life choosing the easy path. Now everything feels empty. The woman nodded, unsurprised. Come, she said, gesturing for him to sit. Let me show you something. She pointed to two sections of her garden. One side was lush and vibrant roses bloomed in brilliant reds and pinks. Vegetables grew strong and healthy, and the soil looked rich and dark. The other side, however, was barren and overgrown with weeds. Do you see the difference? She asked. Daniel nodded. The beautiful side, she continued, required hard work. I turned the soil when it was hard. I pulled weeds even when I was tired. I watered during droughts and protected the plants during storms. It was difficult, uncomfortable, and demanding. But look at what it became. She turned to the barren side. This side I left alone. I thought maybe nature would take care of it. I avoided the hard work, chose the easier path of neglect, and this is the result." The gardener stood and brushed the soil from her hands. "Life is like a garden, Daniel. The choices we make every day are seeds. Easy choices, avoidance, comfort, the path of least resistance. They seem harmless in the moment, but over time, they create a hard life, a life without growth, without strength, without meaning." Daniel felt the truth of her words settle into his bones. "Hard choices," she continued, "are uncomfortable. They require courage, effort, and sacrifice. But they create an easy life, a life filled with resilience, purpose, and deep satisfaction. When you choose the difficult conversation, you build authentic relationships. When you choose the challenging work, you develop valuable skills. When you choose growth over comfort, you become someone you're proud to be." She looked at him with compassion. "You've spent years choosing comfort, and now you carry the weight of an unlived life. That weight is heavier than any challenge you avoided." Daniel closed his eyes, feeling the sting of truth. She was right. Every easy choice he had made, every time he stayed silent instead of speaking up, every time he chose distraction over discipline, every time he avoided risk, had added another brick to the walls of his self-made prison. "But it's not too late," the gardener said softly. "Gardens can be restored. Lives can be rebuilt. It starts with one hard choice, then another, until one day you look around and realize you've created something beautiful." Daniel left the garden that evening with a new understanding burning in his chest. He didn't want to live a hard life anymore, the kind of hardness that came from regret, emptiness, and unfulfilled potential. He wanted the kind of hard work that built something worth keeping. The next morning, he made his first hard choice. He enrolled in a course he had been too intimidated to try for years. It was difficult and uncomfortable. He struggled, made mistakes, and felt foolish. But he also felt alive in a way he hadn't in decades. Then came another hard choice. He reached out to an old friend and had an honest conversation about their shallow relationship. It was awkward and vulnerable, but it deepened their connection in ways politeness never could. Slowly, deliberately, Daniel began choosing discomfort. He took on challenging projects at work. He started exercising, even when his body protested. He said no to distractions and yes to growth. Each hard choice made the next one slightly easier, not because they became less difficult, but because he became stronger. And with each choice, the weight of his unlived life began to lift. Out wrote the moral and reflection months later. Daniel returned to the garden. The elderly woman smiled when she saw him. "You look different," she observed. "I feel different," Daniel replied. "I understand now. Easy choices create hard lives. Hard choices create easy lives." She nodded. "And which life are you building now?" Daniel looked toward the mountains he had once thought impossible to climb. "The one worth living," he said. "If you liked this story, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one." Thank you for staying with us. See you in the next story with new thoughts and new lessons. Until then, stay well and stay peaceful.